Melanie, could you tell us why disaster risk reduction is important, what it is and why is it important?
Yeah, so disaster risk reduction, which is talked about globally, it's talked about domestically, it's actually the ethic of prevention. It's about moving beyond thinking of, immediate relief response. It includes all of that, so it includes mitigation practices, things that we do both culturally, technically. It entails a lot of different techniques and tools that we try to encourage communities to think about what could happen, address some of the potential hazards, and then look at it holistically and think about prevention as an ethic. And it actually saves lives, and I mean that's why DRR is so important.
With the new Sendai framework, do you see new opportunities for Indigenous way of understanding disaster risk reduction to be more forefront?
Yeah, I think the Sendai framework, which actually explicitly talks about incorporating Indigenous knowledge, understanding, it talks about climate change, it talks about different things that Indigenous peoples I think can contribute to through both traditional ecological knowledge but also more contemporary knowledge. I mean, Indigenous peoples are negotiating those same types of hazards, those same realities, climate change, but they're coming at it from a different worldview, and I think that's really important that we have both those worldviews considered in DRR.
Could you tell some of the base principles of the Indigenous worldview as you see them applicable to this world?
Yeah, the Indigenous worldview it's historically, I think, been misunderstood as quite simple, like people think of tribal peoples around the world and that they were living in pre-industrial economies, and so what could they possibly contribute to modern society and thinking? But that's really kind of an erroneous thing to think about, because what the Indigenous worldview does is it brings interconnectivity, it brings a holistic perspective, meta-analysis, if you will. It brings, a really different way of looking at the relationships in ecosystems, for example, and it also brings oral history that goes beyond what recorded history, knows about, and so it can complement science and technical types of thinking with a more in touch with the land, and also even a spiritual component. I mean, we certainly relate to the land spiritually, and then therefore I think we can understand it at a much deeper level.
What advice do you have to Indigenous youth, but also to youth in general, in terms of their potential contribution to this field?
I think the young people really, I came out of a youth empowerment movement where people believed in me, believed in what I had to contribute. I think young people are growing up with a different value system. I mean, I'm still speaking to audiences or writing papers trying to convince people of the value of Indigenous knowledge. I find with youth, they're already in that frame of mind. They already recognize that we have to have big picture thinking. They're growing up in a really interconnected world, and it's not difficult for them to make the stretch to think, yeah, just because somebody's telling me something, that this is valid knowledge, it doesn't mean that I can only accept that. I can question everything, and that's what I think the greatest potential of youth is that they can question everything and say, well, actually, maybe there's a different worldview. There's something deeper that I could think about.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.